My name is Billy Thor, and I have a story to tell. It is not my story, it is God's story, of how He has transformed a dilapidated Georgian manor house on the southern edge of Sheffield into a residential holiday centre, and how He is using this special place to transform lives.
Dan and I first saw the Oaks on a cold, wet, foggy day in January 1996. The building felt like a giant fridge, and the grounds were so tangled and overgrown that it was hard to find our way through them. Yet we knew that this place was exactly what we had been hoping and praying for. 2 years earlier, we had spent a few weeks at Teen Ranch, Australia, a residential centre just outside Sydney. God confirmed what we already knew, that a fun-filled activity holiday was the perfect backdrop for young people to hear about a God who loves them. After returning to our teaching jobs in Bristol, we started to look for a suitable property to set up a similar centre in the UK. We focused our search on the Sheffield area because it is my home city, and we were hopeful of plenty of family and church support nearby. The Oaks ticked every box. Its location was unique. It was near to the city and very accessible to a large population, yet it felt completely rural. The layout of the house was perfect. It had a spacious dining area with a kitchen behind, a library which was large enough for meetings. The cellars and the old kitchen were ideal for social spaces. The first floor had a series of large rooms suitable for camper dormitories, and the top floor had space for team accommodation. The grounds were beautiful. A large front lawn, gently sloping down to a lake. Lifting our eyes a little further to the horizon, a walled garden could be seen to the left, and a wooded area to the right, and these had the potential to add extra variety and scope for all sorts of activities.
We returned to Bristol buzzing with excitement, and spent the next 3 months committing the project to the Lord in prayer and seeking His confirmation to move ahead. 6 months later, we left our teaching jobs, packed up our little flat, and moved to Sheffield. At this moment, we had secured an interest-free loan to cover the purchase price, and we felt optimistic that we could sort out the necessary planning permission, set up a charity, buy the property, and move in and get started on the renovations within 6 months. In reality, it took a little longer than we had hoped. Almost 2 years later, on the 12th of May 1998, everything was finally in place, and the Oaks Trust was able to move ahead with the purchase. Another 2 years on, and we were ready to open as a holiday centre. These 4 years were a roller coaster of ups and downs, as we faced a range of constant challenges which kept on appearing. Yet God's faithfulness shone through at every dark moment. He opened doors when circumstances seemed impossible. He provided for all our material and financial needs, and He sent us the right people at the right time over and over again. I would like to suggest that there is no such thing as fortunate coincidences in the Christian life, but there are many, many God instances, seemingly small happenings which we can look back on and see how God has used them in a really significant way to bring about His purposes. The story of the Oaks is full of these.
An early and very memorable one was when the conservation officer agreed to allow us to add a second staircase up to the top floor, even though she had refused this same request to another potential buyer a year before. She saw the deterioration that had taken place over the previous 12 months, and she changed her mind. Refusal to us would have forced us to walk away, as without this vital staircase, we would not have been allowed to use the top floor, which was going to be essential for team accommodation.
God also provided for all our material and financial needs to complete the work necessary to enable us to open as a holiday centre. The list of jobs required was quite simply enormous.
The grounds needed clearing and taming. The roof needed a team of contractors for 5 months to make it watertight, and this included the restoration of a beautiful dome which needed taking to pieces, repairing and rebuilding. Over 50 sash windows needed to be repaired or replaced. A new gas heating system needed installing throughout the building to replace the antiquated oil-fired system which only existed on the ground floor and in one of the first floor bedrooms. The building needed rewiring, treatment for dry rot, and structural reinforcement adding to many rooms. The second staircase between the middle and the top floor was required by the fire officer. New toilets, washrooms, shower rooms, and a stainless steel commercial kitchen were essential for the large number of campers and team members that would be living in the house. A new plumbing and sewage system was needed. Flammable varnish had to be stripped from every inch of the wooden staircase and replaced with a fire-resistant alternative. 150 years of dirt was considered a fire risk and therefore needed clearing from the attic spaces. A fire alarm system needed fitting and fire doors had to be added along our fire escape route. The original features, such as the old bell system, the oak panelling in the library, and the ornate plasterwork detail, all needed restoring. A new back door and boot room needed creating, and a new stone wall had to be built to ensure privacy for our neighbours in the stable block houses behind. And finally, many areas needed replastering, and all 36 rooms needed completely redecorating.
In addition, the house needed equipping with literally hundreds of items. These items were almost all donated. We created a giant wedding list, and the gifts, new and second-hand, just kept on arriving on our doorstep.
One of the most remarkable was receiving 48 mattresses from a hotel refurbishment just a few months before being told by the Environmental Housing Department at Sheffield City Council that we were allowed to have 48 bed spaces for visiting campers. And we had a mattress ready and waiting for every single one of them. We needed wood, glass, radiators, tables, chairs, carpets, curtains, cutlery, crockery and stainless steel catering equipment, and they all arrived just when we needed them.
We also needed finances. We were told that the purchase price, along with essential renovations, would total at around £500,000. We thought that potential supporters might find this amount slightly overwhelming, so we worked out that if 999 people gave us £99 a year for 4 years, plus the gift aid, this would bring in the amount that we needed, and we called each pledge an acorn.
Although we never made it to 999, our acorn scheme still exists today. And not only did it provide for those early renovations, but hundreds of people have carried on giving us £2 a week or more, which has continued to provide us with financial stability to this day. God has also faithfully continued to provide the right people at the right time. From the first volunteer on our first workday who knew about electrics and was able to rewire one room to enable us to move into the top floor, to our current team members, God has kept working behind the scenes to prompt men and women of faith to join us and enable His ministry to grow and to flourish. At the very beginning, He sent us Jim, who we had met at Teen Ranch, Australia, to help us to get started. He sent us Anthony, a senior manager, on an early retirement package to get us organised. He sent us Rachel to provide us with food and much needed cake. He sent us Rich and Becky and their family to be our co-leaders and our friends. And He continues to handpick His choice of people selected specifically to help us with His work. Through a series of extraordinary events, we managed to open as planned on the 1st of July 2000. Bob Ockenden, our inspirational friend who came over from Australia to set up Teen Ranch in Scotland in the 1980s, spoke at our service of dedication and thanksgiving. He prayed that our front doors would be doors of transformation in many young lives. This is still our prayer today and every day. When camps first started in summer 2000, we only had a low-level ropes course and we filled the rest of our programme with wide games, Looney Olympics, crafts, slip and slide, bonfires and dorm talent shows. Over the last 20 years, God's provision has enabled the site to expand and develop. In 2001, we added archery to the programme. In 2002, we completed digging out the cellars and were able to start using them as a social space. In 2003, we built our first climbing wall, and then we replaced it with an upgraded version in 2014. In 2004, we added remote control cars. In 2005, we built a new outside workshop, which enabled us to convert the old workshop into a games room. In 2006, we were able to start using the freshly dredged lake for rafting. In 2007, a newly acquired field was levelled to provide 2 more acres for playing games. In 2008, the final room in the cellar was renovated and the chessboard area was added. In 2009, work began on the Crazy Golf Course. In 2010, we closed for 3 months to take the roof off the back of the building and add a significant extension. This provided 3 ensuite rooms for visiting leaders, a girls' and a boys' bunk room for junior helpers, and a much-needed larger office space. In 2011, the pond slide was added to the lake. In 2012, the basket swing was a very popular addition for use in free time. In 2013, we built a zip line for the ropes course. In 2014, we launched the Mini Mudder and the Zorbs. In 2015, we added the pond swing and renovated the main gates. In 2016, we built outside showers to try and keep the huge quantities of mud from the mudder and the ropes course from coming into the building. In 2017 and 18, we focused on creating a new underground tunnelling system. Also in 2017, by an extraordinary sequence of God instances, we were able to buy an additional 10 acres of land, which came with the purchase of the gardener's cottage, which is located within the walled garden. This has doubled the size of our site, and we will be continuing to plan and implement new games and activities to add to this amazing piece of land for many years to come. And with each year that has passed, our site, both inside and out, has looked better and better.
The expansion of the building and grounds has enabled the development of our programme of activities, and this has gone hand in hand with the growth of our ministry. At the start, our camps were mostly church groups with occasional discipleship weekends and school holiday camps. Then, in 2002, something unexpected happened. We welcomed our first school group. As the Christian message was central to every camp, we thought that schools wouldn't want to visit. But then we were reassured that as long as we explained the gospel in an appropriate way, explaining it in the context of what Christians believe and what the Bible teaches, then schools would be happy to accept our teaching as part of their RE curriculum.
School bookings have continued to grow, and we now welcome around 1,000 school pupils every year, which makes up 50% of our annual bookings. In 2003, we introduced music and dance weekends each January, and by 2005, we had established a summer theme as a regular annual feature. Also in 2005, we started to identify the need to stay connected with campers post-camp and provide something more for them once they had left the Oaks. So our follow-on programme was launched to try and help campers to continue to access Bible teaching, to grow in their faith, and to encourage them to come back on future camps. In 2010, moving the team office to the extension provided space for another dormitory, increasing our capacity to 60. In 2012, we introduced our first Dads and Lads weekend, followed by Mums and Daughters the following year. Since the early years, a holiday fund has enabled us to provide camps for all. As the Oaks is subsidised by gifts, our camps are very reasonably priced, yet the cost will always be a challenge for some. So early on, we set up a fund to offer extra assistance for those with a particular need. Over the years, this fund has helped hundreds of young people to attend camps, and we are so grateful for the generous funding that has enabled this to happen. Developing our facilities and expanding our team enabled us to host more camps and welcome more campers year on year, until we reached our maximum capacity of around 2,000 annual visitors in 2015. It has been a joy and a privilege to have been able to welcome over 30,000 campers since we opened in July 2000. And throughout this time, our mission has remained the same: to share the Christian message with children and young people through amazing residential camps. It is exciting to look back and see how our camps ministry has improved and developed since our first basic programs in summer 2000. But I can honestly say it is just as exciting to see the many ways that God has continued to improve and develop our team ministry. At the start, our focus was simply the camps, welcoming young people to enjoy a holiday and hear the good news about Jesus. In order to run these camps, we needed a team of helpers to be inspirational role models to every camper that came through the gates. But as usual, God had bigger plans. This group of men and women, brought by God from all over the world, would not just be Oaks leaders. God would use their time with us to train and equip them to become Christian leaders of the future. From small beginnings, we now typically have around 12 long-term and another 14 on our Impact team, our gap year training programme. This programme involves serving Jesus, sharing Jesus, and growing in Jesus. Over the year, they will serve Jesus through every aspect of our ministry, share Jesus on over 40 camps, and grow in Jesus through their experiences and through taking part in daily devotions plus regular study days and evening small groups throughout the year. Some Impact team apply to stay on for a second year and take on a specific area of responsibility. We call these residential trainees. We are privileged to be a small part of the spiritual journey for the Impact and residential trainee teams, but wonderfully a part that God has often used to prepare them for the next chapter of their lives. As the team has grown, we have needed more staff accommodation. I remember at an early prayer meeting hearing a request asking for God to provide more properties from the stable block behind the big house to accommodate the larger team which we would need in the future. At the time, this seemed an extraordinary prayer, as we had only just secured a loan for the Oaks. Yet long-term team and their families now live in 8 houses on the site. Each one has been an extraordinary miracle brought about by our extraordinary God. Support team, teenagers aged 15 and above, who come to help out on camps, and summer team, who arrive to boost staff numbers during our busiest time of the year, are essential extras who really help to lighten the load for our regular team members. A very important part of our team has always been our volunteer staff. In the 2 years of renovations leading up to our opening in July 2000, literally hundreds of volunteers kept turning up to help. Since then, we have continued to welcome around 7 or 8 regular helpers each week. Each one spends time with us to carry out a particular job. Some help in the office, others with housekeeping, building or grounds work, and they all play a vital role in the work here. Our summer work teams have also been a regular and very valuable feature of our calendar since the early years. Each year, we close for camps for the first 2 weeks of July, and it is a privilege to welcome volunteers of all ages to help out with maintenance work alongside new projects. In the early years, a number of teams came from the States, and we owe many of the early improvements to these hard-working volunteers who paid all their own expenses and gave up their holidays to serve in this way. Our trustees are also important members of our team, godly men and women who are committed to the gospel focus of the Oaks. We thank God for each one, past and present.
The Oaks team is made up of many different types of workers, but they all have one thing in common. They all work hard to enable the ministry to grow and develop, and no one receives a salary from the Oaks. Our full-time team raise their own support, and although we were warned that this model of funding would not work, by God's grace it has worked, and we are grateful to every team member for stepping out in faith and to every supporter who has provided for their needs. As we look back, there have, of course, been many challenges along the way, but God has been completely faithful. He has been with us through every difficult and painful situation, and when we have been willing to listen and learn, He has used each one of these to teach us important lessons and to deepen our relationship with Him.
Individually and as a team, we have tried to prioritise listening for God's voice by starting every day together with Bible study and prayer. And in His sovereign timing, He has heard and answered every one. Sometimes the answer has been no or not yet, but as you have heard, we have also enjoyed some glorious yeses. Although camps can be hard and living and working on team can be challenging, many have shared with us that despite their own frailties, weaknesses, and feelings of inadequacy, they see God glorified. This is a great encouragement to us because it is the reason why the Oaks exists. This has also been an encouragement to others who have been inspired to establish similar ministries in other places. I have noticed that Christian ministries often cause a ripple effect as one ministry gives impetus and momentum for the start of another. My mum, Joy Lockwood, became a Christian at a centre called Hildenborough Hall in 1949 when she was just 14 years old. She went on to encourage me to go on Christian camps throughout my childhood, which I absolutely loved. As adults, Dan and I volunteered to be leaders on camps in America, camps run by Pathfinders and by Christians in Sport. And then in 1994, we spent time at Teen Ranch in Australia, and then helped out at Teen Ranch in Scotland. These experiences inspired us to start the Oaks, and in turn, the Oaks has inspired others. Acorn Camps in Hungary was started by Andy and Sophie Oakridge, soon after the Oaks first opened, and they borrowed Oaks' team and modelled many of their programmes on our early camps. Yorkshire Camps in the Yorkshire Dales was set up by Andy and Hannah Peace, who moved to start this centre in Grassington after spending 6 years working with us here in Sheffield. Both are very similar ministries to the Oaks. The gospel is at the heart of everything they do, and they seek to glorify God as they share Jesus with young people. This visual story has been put together to inspire, encourage, and glorify God for all that He has done and continues to do in this place. Through His story, we pray that you might see how amazing and faithful God is, yesterday, today, and forever. Live in the light of eternity. Life is not a rehearsal. We have one chance to make it count. Let's not waste it.
The valley with you by our side.
If you would like to get involved at the Oaks, we would love to hear from you.
Would you like to partner with us in prayer and receive our monthly prayer letters and 6 monthly news and prayer updates?
Are you able to offer financial support through a one-off gift, or by joining the Acorn scheme, by donating to our holiday fund which provides bursaries, or maybe through supporting a team member to enable them to work here?
Would you or others you know like to visit the Oaks as a camper? On a mums and daughters or dads and lads weekend? Or maybe bring a group from your church or school?
Would you like to join our team on our Impact Gap Year programme as a weekly volunteer, on support team, summer team, or on our work team each July, or even on our permanent team?
The full history of the Oaks can be found in our book, A Story to Tell. Please pick up a copy from the Oaks or order one through 10 of those.
We are prayerfully planning to plant another centre. Do you know of any potential sites, or might you be interested in getting involved in this exciting new gospel venture?
More information about every aspect of the Oaks can be found on our website, or you can contact us at info@oaks.org.uk. Thanks for listening.